Hi everybody, welcome again to another session of Yeshiva Classroom, and we have a lot to talk about, so without further ado, I'm going to get started here, and I want to show you a picture of the expulsion from the Arab lands in 1948. In 1948, over 800,000 Jews were expelled from Arab lands, never got compensation for all the property that was stolen from them. Yeah, that we have to keep, we make that as an anniversary. But you know, more specific, there is a very big problem in the five-town area, and you know, we're all crying about the Holocaust and the millions of Jews, men, women, and children that were slaughtered before our eyes, and we cried that we could not do anything for them. Right? We couldn't do anything for them. We had no power. We had no army. We had nothing to see but our Jews being slaughtered. And today, we can save Jewish people. And I'm talking about the unborn. You know, the unborn Jewish children that are in the public schools in, for instance, the five-town area. The five-town area. And who cares about them? And we have, I want to show you a map that was hand-drawn, showing you the resources that the Jewish observant community has at its disposal. Here is the Rockaway Turnpike, and this is Peninsula Boulevard. And we have, in the circles are all Jewish institutions, the Aguda, the synagogue, the Sephardic gigantic synagogues, the Edward Street Shul, the shul across the street from the Young Israel of Woodmere, and one block further away is West Broadway, and on West Broadway we have 5, 6, 7 shuls on that. The blue shul, the red shul, the shtibel, 2 shtibels, Esha Torah is a little bit further distance, and then we even have the Young Israel of Lawrence and Beth Shalom, which has thousands of square feet available that lie empty all day long except for the Shabbos. And around this area here, are high schools, very highly populated with Jewish students. And they're producing the next generation of Ben and Jerry's, the next fifth columnist, and within our midst, because they never received any kind of a Jewish education which is so available to them, which is so close to them. And here I'm talking about for Rockaway High School, Lawrence High School, Woodmere High School, Hewlett High School, Valley Stream, East Rockaway, all heavily populated with Jewish children. And here we have the resources to reach out to bring them into a place where they can receive a Jewish education. And the reason they don't receive an education in many cases is because the finances are very high and they're poor, and therefore they don't receive an education. And with all the monies available in this community and all the space that's available, there's no reason why that cannot be undertaken, to combine all of these resources and to reach out to the public school Jewish children that are in attendance there, the five-town unborn Jewish children, no one to represent them. The 5 towns, Jewish unborn in public schools, just like the unborn in the states that are aborted. They don't have a say, no one to represent them. No one to represent them. And so it is here. No one is representing the Jewish children that are in public schools, and therefore, I want to tell you a very personal story that happened in the 47, 48, when the Jews were driven out of Europe, and Hitler came to the fore. We had, this is in 1942, 1941, 1943, they were driven all over the world, and most of them were slaughtered. But there was one family that won the lottery in Vienna, Austria. And that lottery made him eligible to immigrate out of that area. And that lottery indicated that he had a sponsor that would take care of him, and therefore he was let out of that European concentration camp. And they came to America, and they asked him, or they asked what does the family breadwinner do, and it was in the leather business and the leather works and the processing of skins and what have you in the leather industry. So therefore they sent him to Wilmington, Delaware. It was a family, a husband, wife, and 1 son, and that son became my friend because he was in the 2nd or 3rd grade, whenever it was, and I met him, and he was in my class, and he became very good friends that we grew up together, going to the same schools, and he sort of went different ways. When we graduated high school, he went into law school and became a successful lawyer, and he married and had children, but his wife was a Catholic, a devout Catholic. It was a widow, and she married, and Henry supported the 2 children even through graduation to get a degree from a Catholic school. And at the graduation, the priest even gave a dig at the Jews and what have you, you know, the Old Testament. What does Old Testament mean? It means that, you know, the Jewish Bible had witnesses, and now the New Testament has witnesses to oversee or overseer the Old Testament, which is no longer applicable. And they have their New Testament, their Bible, which supersedes the Old Testament and the old witnesses. So that's their take. But we have a pasuk. A pasuk is a sentence in the Torah where it says, and Numbers 23, chapter 23, verse 19, God is not a man, and God is not the son of man, and God is not fickle. He does not change his mind. Again, chapter 23, verse 19, and Numbers, in the book of Numbers, which was divinely given together with the witness as the Jewish people, and a witness being God who gave it. And in that book, there's one sentence in particular that says, chapter 23, verse 19, that God is not a man, and God is not a son of a man, and God is not fickle. He does not change his mind. So that is our take. Now, where were we? We're talking about the 5 towns. The 5 towns. Here we are. Here we have synagogues and yeshivas. Here's a beautiful building in the 5 towns which houses a girls' school. Now, I'm sure they have room, or I'm sure there's a space available in the area of which we just mentioned, the 5 towns, and all of these high schools, Far Rockaway High, Cedar, Lawrence High School, which is 1 block away from, a short block away from Peninsula Boulevard and the Aguda Synagogue, and there's 7, 8 shuls on the Peninsula Boulevard, and they're surrounded by these other high schools, public high schools, which are heavily Jewish populated. Now there's an organization called Chazak, C-H-A-Z-A-Q, Chazak, Chazak, C-H-A-Z-A-Q. And, you know, I spoke to the head of the organization, and I tried to get him on the program, but we couldn't do it, couldn't get it done. But they have literally taken hundreds of Jewish children out of public schools and put them in Jewish day schools. And it's another organization, JBX, run by the Rabbi Fingerer brothers, right? Rabbi Fingerer brothers. And they are active, and they have organizations run where they place people into yeshivas from public school, and many of them have a natural inclination to want to learn about the studies of Judaism. So, you know, we have the resources, we have the product being the Torah, and we have the best salesman, and we can't get it together. Look, I'm not a natural leader, you know, a leader's got to be natural, but we have to come together. And no one has contacted me. I'm ready to join any group that makes this shidduch between the synagogues and yeshivas, day schools, together with the public schools, and someone to coordinate this, to bring them out of public school by contacting the students and the parents, and show them the benefits of a Jewish education, and I'm sure we'll get many of us. And you say, well, listen, who am I? You know, I can't buck the yeshivas, and I can't tell them what to do after I have a student in that school, and they may frown upon me trying to overrule them. No, but whoever, there must be somebody there, because this program had the last showing asking for volunteers, and no one came forward. No one came forward. Now, I want to know, what do you think your mark will be when you get to the next world? What will they say? I mean, you had an opportunity to save people, right? You didn't have to cry about not helping the Yom HaShoah that day when you couldn't save them, but you have right now. You could save the people. You could save the Jewish children. And for that matter, we can go into a lot of different areas, but I want to bring up the fact that in last week Jewish Jewish Times, which is a weekly publication of basically advertisements and columnists who write on different subjects pertaining to Judaism. And in that paper there was a full-page ad. It says, Noah, North Woodmere has opening a night Seder where like from 8:30 to 9:15 you can come and participate by learning, right? By learning in by yourself with Art Scroll books, I would imagine, or participate in a shir. But I don't know if it's going to be that successful. Although they have 7 young men who sponsored this ad, but I don't know if people are going to take advantage to be available at 9 on Monday and Wednesday. So, you know, it's a good start, and I wish them success. And I wish anybody, they don't have a phone number on here. They have an address on Hungary Harbor Road, but that's in North Woodmere. But if you're interested in going to that type of a program, it'd be very enlightening, I'm sure. Now, there is a paper that comes out, a free Jewish paper that comes out with the Times, and there's other papers there, the Star and the what have you. But there's a paper here called the Jewish Views, V-U-E-S. And it has 20 columnists. Most of the paper is taking up with people who are learned and give a devout Torah on the Sedra, the portion of the week. And you can get this at www.jewishviews.com, jewishviews.com. And I believe they can send you that paper, or how to get it online. Jewish, Jewish views, V-U-E-S, all one word, .com. So you might want to speak to them and get that paper. I look at it, and especially look at Rabbi Sachs, the Lord Rabbi, Chief Rabbi of England, who passed away recently. And I'll give you over a word that he said that is interesting, which talks about perseverance. And he starts off, I hope I'm giving it over correctly, but basically he starts off with a culture and the art world in particularly, and the theme is perseverance, where in the art world you had people like Van Gogh, and from Holland, right? Van Gogh, who was a renowned painter, but was not accepted in his lifetime. As a matter of fact, he only sold one painting during his lifetime, and his brother was a art dealer, but he only sold one painting. But after death, it skyrocketed. But he believed in the work that he was doing, and he kept on painting. So he persevered. And the same thing with the Impressionists, which took place in mid-18th century, middle 18th century, 1760s, where the Impressionists tried to show their paintings that were not accepted, couldn't find a gallery or a place to show them. And basically, Impressionists are where I love looking at Impressionist paintings and Monet. The point is they talk about, they show paintings where, for instance, a street scene which will have the light breaking through and bathing some buildings and awnings and people in a lighter color than the shaded areas which did not receive sunlight. And there's so many different different areas that you can look at to see the contrast between darkened and lighted areas. It's just pleasing. But they were finally accepted, even though at first they were not. They persevered. And then he brings down the leader of our people, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, who was commanded and given the charge to free the Jewish people. And he went to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh said, "Who are you?" And I'm going to increase the workload of the Jewish slaves. They have to find their own straw to build the bricks, but their workload will not be diminished. So then he came again, and he brought signs with him, persevered, that, look, I have signs, it's a divinely given edict that we leave your country. And what happened? He was rejected. But it didn't deter him. He went 9 more times. 9 more times he went to Pharaoh. And the 10th time he was finally agreed upon that the Jewish people could leave after the death of the firstborn. And we still remember that significant day on Passover, and we remember that the firstborn is significant, and we give the firstborn of our children to be redeemed from the sanctity or godliness that was to be given to God, the firstborn, just like baby Samuel was given over. But now we redeem them with 5 shloi that indicates our ownership. And we have the firstborn of the cattle, the firstborn of the sheep, the firstborn of Chamor, which is redeemed with the sheep. So it reminds us of that plague, of that plague that God put on Pharaoh, and the Jews left. And where did they leave? Where did they go? To the land of Israel. That was their destination. After 400 years, what am I looking for? After 400 years in slavery. We say, well, how come they were slaved were in exile, away from their country for 400 years? What happened over there? Why? And it all happened because of a miscue of Abraham. You know, you should take a pen and jot these numbers down, because I'm going to give you a little bit of Torah that from the 5 books of Moses, holy, divinely given books. And over there it says that the second sentence in the first chapter, that the Ruach Elokim merachefes al panei hamayim. The Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. And it was looking for someone, some individual who would be a surrogate to give over the teachings that God had promulgated and by which man should live, so he'll live a happy life. I put before you life and death. Choose life. So God is giving us the correct way to choose. We have to follow that directive and choose that way and not be influenced by the Yetzer Hara so we can gain a good mark. Because we all know, God knows who's virtuous or not. But you have to strive with your own abilities to accrue marks for choosing correctly. That's in chapter 30, verse 19 in Deuteronomy, that put before you life and death, choose life that you might live. This world and the next world, live. So what happened, God saw in chapter 20, Bereshit, chapter 26, 5, says over there, for Abraham on his own, through observation, rationalization, came under conclusion that there was a God, and he followed these rules by himself. Tradition that he got from Masorah, that he got from Noah and before, and observation and rationalization. He followed the commandments, and God said, I will choose you and your descendants. You and your descendants I will choose. And he was chosen. He was chosen, and God says in Bereshit chapter 18 verse 19, I know that Abraham will teach his children and his household the way of God and of charity, kindness, and justice. Kindness, charity, and justice. And kindness precedes, derech eretz precedes wisdom. So he says over there in chapter 18 verse 19, I know Abraham will teach his children and his household the ways of God, of charity, justice, and kindliness. So he was chosen. So we see in chapter 15 that he made, in Bereshit, he made a covenant. God, Abraham had a vision, and he saw that there was a place where animals, 3 sheep, 3 calves, and 3 goats were split, and a pigeon and a turtle dove faced each other, and a path was in the middle. And this indicated, by passing through that path, indicates that one has formulated a contract. And so, if you read chapter 15 in Bereshit, and so Abraham and God, represented by a fiery torch and a smoking furnace, passed through that path, and they formulated a covenant, right, between Abraham and his descendants and God. 17:7, chapter 17:7, it says over there in Bereshit, Genesis, says over there that the lineage will pass through Isaac, and his children. And so that's what we see when we make sure, when we pray the Shemona Esrei, the immediate prayer in the 3 times a day, that Jews are commanded to thank God for all He has done for us, chosen us. And it says, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob. It doesn't say God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's to make you understand that God of Abraham had 2 children, and one of them was Isaac, and that's whom we follow. We God of Isaac. And Isaac had 2 children, Jacob and Esau. And he followed the God of Jacob. Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. 3 of the fathers. Make no mistake that is the lineage and the teachings that we have practiced and continue to practice till this day. Now, and write these things down. I mean, if you want to, this is a, what can I tell you? I don't know. You don't have the time the 8th hour is strong. Look, what it says over there, yeah, so, over there, yeah, so in 12, in chapter 12:6, when God took Abraham from Ur Kasdim, took him out of there, he said, Lech lecho me'artzecho me'aladecho me'beis avicho. Go to the land of your heritage, which I will show you. And it says in 12:6, I will give you the land of Canaan, which is Israel. I will give you the land of Canaan, which is Israel. But in chapter 15, you know, just go back a little bit. You know, Abraham not only figured out all the commandments and directives, but he set up posts, altars. He built altars to not to offer an offering, an animal offering, a grain offering, but to speak, using it as a platform. And you have that in chapter 12:8, chapter 13:4, chapter 21:33, 26:25. All of these places were altars where he spoke to the people, like we're trying to do today, and like Chabad does, and many other organizations. Speak to the people that the oneness of God. But I'm in the school of, you know, you're gonna play basketball. You go to yeshiva. It's full time. I mean, you have free time when you can shoot the ball in the yard, but not having interscholastic meetings with other schools, with practice sessions, and traveling all over the metropolitan area to play a game. Practice alone takes so much time. When you should be learning, it should be reviewing. You're reviewing Torah. And not only basketball, but after basketball they have hockey, come to the practice, come to the games, gotta travel. They have baseball, you name it. Where's the time to learn? Well, we'll get them to Israel, and then they'll do away with that. You have to put your foot down now. Look, I came from a town in Wilmington, Delaware, and there in the inner city there were 2 synagogues, and one was Chesed Shalemis, where I davened there every week, and many times during the week. It was a lively, vibrant community, and Shabbos there was such a beautiful spread of cholent and herring and all great things, but nobody came. Only the old timers, and I was there too. But here I try. This is the other synagogue that Adish Kodesh, also a few blocks away. They were a few blocks away from each other. So people moved out, and people came not religious, nobody had an education, and they merged. They merged together, and they built a beautiful building out in the highway there. Lee Boulevard, I think it's Lee Boulevard, or it was some other boulevard there. Sprawling complex. And what happened? Nobody came. That wasn't for them. And so they had to sell it, and they sold it to a church. Here, that's what the story is. All over the country, we're building synagogues and yeshivas and selling them to Avodah Zarah, which is prohibited. And I hope that they finally realize, I think they are realizing, that the buildings are important, and yeshivas are important, and we have to save the buildings that were built with hard-earned nickels and dimes, because now there is a strong trend to Jewish education, Okay, so where are we? We spoke about, oh yeah, we got sidetracked with Rabbi Sachs, and so Moshe Rabbeinu, he persevered, and he finally had the people released from their bondage after 400 years. 400 years. Why did it 400 years? Right? Because we didn't finish that last thought. And that means that 400 years was because in 12:6 in Bereshit, he said that God said, I will give you the land of Canaan. And then in chapter 15, it says over there that Abraham, with a hint of disbelief, said, what will you give me? And God already promised him. God already promised him the land of Canaan. But he asked, what will you give me? And so God says, come outside, you'll see the stars. That will be how numerous your children will be. And I will give you the land of Canaan, Israel. And we know the boundaries. We know the boundaries. And so perseverance. Moses persevered to the very end, where it says the last chapter in the book of Deuteronomy, of the fifth book of the Bible, Deuteronomy, chapter 34, verse 7. Moses died when he was 120 years of age. His eyes were not dim, and his vigor was not diminished. And his vigor was not diminished. Again, 34 verse 7, God had Moses die with a kiss, and he was 120 years. His eyes was not dim, and his vigor was not diminished. He persevered, he kept on persevering to the very end. And that's what we have to do. We have to persevere in our community over here to get the children from public school to a Jewish educational school. Now, you know, it's so difficult. We have, you say, where is the land of Canaan? Where are the boundaries? Look at Numbers 30. Many places it lists the boundaries of the country of the land of Israel. Many places. Look at chapter 34 in Numbers, chapter 34, verse 1. It delineates the north, south, east, and west boundaries. And so here Biden is an administration, well, listen, I just saw on today's news flash from Israel that Gantz, the Secretary of Defense, said we have to give up on Hormish and Aviator. Hormish and Aviator. These are two settlements that are on the West Bank, liberated territories, and we can't have them be populated by Jews because we need the U.S. and to help us with Iran. That's what he said, basically. That U.S. policy trumps God's wishes. 7 times it's given over there that I promise you the land of Israel. 7 times in the Bible, and it gives the boundaries. And Netanyahu had the ability to annex the West Bank, and he didn't do it, and he was kicked out. He's not going to be a prime minister again. Now we have Bennett, who is an observant Jew and who is God-fearing, but will he go up against Paro and Biden and Obama and those anti-Semites? In the Torah, Jewish books are divided in 24 books. There are Torah, right, the written books, the tablets, right, the stone tablets. Look at a chapter in Exodus, chapter 24, verse 7. It says, telling Moses to ascend to the mountain, I will give you the stone tablets with their engravings, the written Bible, which is the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, and the commandments, which is the oral Bible. The oral Bible. So, I don't know what I wanted to bring out here, but anyway, so look, we say we got to do what America says. We're nothing compared to America, right? Just like Paro, we can't buck Paro, but Moses did buck him. And will Bennett buck the Paro of today? We'll have to wait and see. So far, the jury is still out. But here's a picture of the land of Canaan, and it covers, and this is divided into different areas where the 12 tribes had jurisdiction, where they were given the land, divinely given, through a goral or a lot. Lots were picked, and this is the Jordan River, and God, Asher, and the half-tribe of Manasseh is basically Transjordan. That's Israel. When the king gets so nervous when he reads those passages. But I mean, what's so important about land? I mean, Israel under Shamir, the president of Shamir, gave away most of the Gaza as a gift. Who gives away land, especially divine land? And because he gave it away, they have the Hamas and the and who else are crazies are over there. They send rockets because they gave the land away. That's divinely given land. Netanyahu was taken away. Yeah, Netanyahu was taken away because he didn't annex the land of Judea and Samaria. And let's see what Bennett will do. Look, this is a talk station to motivate the people, to get the Jews to learn, and hopefully someday we will be able to learn. We will be able to learn Torah, and we'll have study halls open 24/7. So study halls open 24/7 where people could come in with a mashgiach. No speakers. A mashgiach, and it means that someone who knows everything. If you have a problem, you know, because everything's hard, everything's difficult to. Everything is difficult to learn. And why was it difficult? The Gemara was written in a difficult way because God wanted you to work hard, on it, to get each word and get the question and get the feeling, your soul. That's your soul food. When you learn Talmud, that's your soul food because you feel good when you get a question and you understand the answer, and that's why we want to learn. There's two books. You don't have to go to to wherever you want to go, but I don't know if there's any places available open that will accept you, or that's open to come in, and unless they want to hear some speaker talk about some catchy title, and he did all the work to prepare it, so what do you get out of it? So here, this is a linear English. It's written in English with Aramaic, and we're going to teach. We have to learn. I'm sure my rabbis will be proud of me, but we have to learn Talmud. And you can get this book. It's $12.59, the paperback edition. The number is, get your pen ready, it's from Masorah. It's 718-921-9000. 718-921-9000. You get a paperback edition of the Talmud. First chapter, just the first this is first chapter, that's all. This is the first chapter. There's about 70 tomes. And this is the first chapter of the first book, but it goes very slowly. And then I strongly urge you to buy the book, Behold the People. Behold the People is about $16 on Amazon. Behold the People by Rabbi Millers. Because sometimes you're going to get tired of this, then you could read in synopsis form succinctly the 24 books of the Bible. So you can, there's a lot of work in here, it's easily read, and so Behold the People at Amazon, and Talmud Bavli, first parak, the first chapter of Barachos is called, right? It's 718-921-9000. You get the they'll send you the book, $12.59. So, you know, I'm just opening up a page of Talmud here, but let's start. You're not going to go fast, but you have to go, right? You know, like a Monopoly, you have to go. You pass go, you get $200. But here you pass go, and you get your crew points, your crew holiness points. You know, a woman stopped me on the street the other day, and she said she recognized me, and she says, "Oh, I like your program." She took the packages out of my car and she put it in a car for me. She so listen, I'm sure some people like it and some people don't like it, but we have to persevere until everybody gets the message. And here, this is an example of one of the pages, and basically this book, the Mishnah, and plural Mishnayos, were written in 70 Common Era. 70 Common Era. We don't say AD, the Lord of our Lord, but after the death of their God, because He is not a God to us. So we refer to it as Common Era. 70 Common Era, where the Mishnah was codified. What do I mean by codified? All the subject matter pertaining to that subject were recorded and put down in writing for the first time. It was no longer oral. But the Gemara, which follows, is an explanation of the phrases of the Mishnah. Is written about 500 common era. So here we have the Mishnah, first Mishnah, Me'amosai, from when to when. So I'm giving the Aramaic and the English. Me'amosai, it's talking about the evening prayer of reading Shema Yisrael. Right? Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu, Ad Hashem Echad. You can read it all day long. But in order to get credit, in order to obligate, you have to read it, that is the evening Shema, within a certain time limit. That's it, it's got to be within a certain time limit. And Me'amosai, that the first word is the question, from when to when do we read the Shema Yisrael prayer? Me'amosai, one word, from when to when. What is the onset parameter? What is the end parameter of saying the Shema Yisrael prayer of evening? And the three schools of thought. You know, when you get the word from Sinai, and it passes over all these generations, and it gets twisted a little bit. But everyone agreed that when the three stars come out, that's when we can begin to say the Shema Yisrael prayer and get credit. When the three stars come out. From the time until the time when the Kohanim eat their truma, So the question is, when is that time? It's basically when the three stars come out. So why did it have to go around about and say from when the Kohanim entered to eat their truma? Why didn't you say when the three stars come out? That's the question. Yeah. So that's what it says over there. So the Gemara, which is oral and now written also, says, why, ask that question, why didn't it right when the three stars come out? And the Gemara answers, because it wants to teach you other things by the way, agav orcha, according to Rabbi Eliezer. Okay? That's the first word. We're only talking about the first word, Me'amosai, from when to when. From when to when do we say the Shema Yisrael prayer of the evening? And that is when the three stars come out. But the question that the Gemara asks, well, why doesn't it just say three stars come out? Instead of saying from when the Kohanim enter to eat their truma, because we're going to learn things about the Torah and the people, the Kohanim, the priests. Right, the Kohanim had to work in the temple, and they had to prepare the offerings and what have you, put the offerings onto the altar together with the Levium. So the point is, that was their work all day long, so they didn't have any source of income, and they were therefore given, from the time the Kohanim entered to eat their truma, they were given 2% of a person's income. In other words, if it had 100 bushels of apples that you picked, 2 bushels automatically go to the Kohanim. But if the Kohanim was Tomei, they had to wait till evening when the three stars came out and then go into the mikveh. But they didn't have to go into the mikveh right away. They didn't have to go into the mikveh right away. So that's when they could eat their truma, when the 3 stars come out. So we're learning things by the way, right? So that's what a person has to do. He has to give 2 bushels to the kohen. And then he has like 98 bushels left, and from that 98, he has to give another 10% to he has to give another 10% to the Levi. He gets 10%, and then what is left, you give the next 10%. You take to the city of Jerusalem with all the other farmers and all the other people, all the other males, and you have celebrate a good time. That's in the first year, and the second year, and the third year becomes Maisa Oni. That, instead of going to Jerusalem with it, you give it to the poor. Then the 5th year, 6th year is again to Jerusalem with your produce, and the 6th year is Maisa Ani, and the 7th year is Shemitah, where you don't grow anything. Look, we just went over the first word. That's what we want to do. We want to go over the first word. From when do we eat the? Do we say the Shema Yisrael prayer of the evening? Right. That's what you have to get this book. Right. Get the book, and you bust your chops over it, and you get credit, because learning Torah equal to all the commandments. It says over there 718-921-9000. I call them up. It's a good number. 718-921-9000. You can get your book, and you can be your own teacher, right? So what else did we do? This is one thing we have to do, is defund the media. Defund the media. Now, the Pew study came out, and 2 out of 3 of the graduates of the of day schools leave the fold, and it's a high percentage over there in the Haredi community too. But I don't know which schools they based it on, or how they concluded this. But there are a lot of people that left, and I think that you have to address those people, those students that are slide right on through with the class, and they may be good in secular subjects, but in Judaism and the Gemara, they may be late bloomers. So you have to support the yeshivas that have private tutoring 101, so they can catch up. So that so that's one other thing over there. And what else we have over here? Right now, the USA is one of our greatest detractors, in that they want to show some success to the elections, and the only ones that will move themselves to give up land, which is unheard of, is Israel, and they want to show the electorate that they accomplished something by going against God and making another state out of His country, the divine country of Israel. So that is one thing that we have to realize, that this is not the final destination. We have a Congress, we have a president, we have checks and balances. Look, when COVID comes through, where do you think that came from? It's only from God, because the Jews are not doing their part. They're not doing what they should be doing, and that is spreading the world knowledge that there's one God, and that being the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We have to continue the support of boycotting Unilever, right? Because Ben and Jerry, you're very obstinate, idealist. If they had gone to Yeshiva, they would have been a different mindset. And that's another reason why we should get the children out of public school. So Unilever, they make Hellmann's mayonnaise. don't buy 1-800-457-6939. Someone told me that Ben & Jerry's unloading tons of ice cream to the United States, to the United States government. Now, that's our friends. Yeah, so that's what we have to do. We have to boycott Hellmann's, Ben & Jerry, Unilever, all those products. Okay, and with that I say the words of Hillel, who said, "If I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?" You have to start. With that, I say good day, good night.